getting settled. We'll
How
be underway here
gorgeous
shortly.
is that background?
It's
Oh my God.
beautiful. I said to production, if the lands disappear, you know who's stolen them because they are chef's kiss.
You think you can
they're
fit
so
that
good.
in your bag back to Canada?
It could be my carry-on.
It's a large check bag, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll just pay a little extra for it, for sure.
Worth it.
The players are ready to get going here. Take a look at the opening hands. I like the look of Akaike's
Yeah. And,
opening hand. Looks pretty good.
Yeah, they got a nice one. Julian's hand also not bad. You know, you got the impulse, you got 2 lands, you also have disruption on 2 that make disappear or negate against these Esper decks, so you can make sure and have either Rafine or Wedding Announcement covered. Not so bad. Even if we see Denick here, we see another 2-drop, eventually Julian's deck can kind of deal with that at some point.
Yeah. Julian's hand has a good mix of reactive plays and proactive plays, you know, the impulse being able to dig a little deeper, the make disappear and the negate like you mentioned, as well as that haughty Jin, who's proven to be pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's looked really, really nice. Whenever Julian is able to go like interact on 2, interact on 3, maybe double interaction spell on 3, and then on turn 4, play Haughty Jin and then have 1 mana open with a counter spell or a shore up.
Yeah.
Those are the games where this game just where this deck looks really difficult to deal with, when on the other side these Esper decks are playing 4-drop haymakers to try to deal with it, and you can answer it for 1 mana. It just ends up being too big of a tempo swing.
It does indeed. Now we're going to see if Akaike wants to run out Rafine Scheming Seer. Do they feel safe enough to do so? We know the answer is in Julian's hand here. And again, these lands just doing some damage.
Yeah, I was talking to Julian, you know, backstage here before this, and we were talking about that really, really close match that he was playing against Esper a couple of rounds ago. And it was just like 8 damage that was dealt between those pain lands that really gave him a chance in a game that looked pretty rough.
It did, yeah. I wonder if anyone's keeping tally of how much damage these lands have done to players.
That's your assignment now, Twitch chat. You gotta keep track.
Yeah, good luck. All right, and here we're gonna see land being run out. Julian just happy to pass the turn back to Akaike, who finds a negate off the top of the library. Does have land number 4.
Pretty good one. You know, now being able to cast a creature and have negate up if you want. Is usually the thing you want to be doing against this is a tempo deck, just double spelling, you know, is really one way to kind of pull ahead.
Yeah. First things first, though, Denick, Pious Apprentice, is going to chip in for 2 points of damage, just pad that life total a little bit, and take it down once more, courtesy of the Pain Lands. Tenacious Underdog, it's going to be the threat run out here. No answer for it in Wellman's hand.
Yep, going to see that impulse, try to find something nice, but already it's pretty well set up if Julian has the vibe that, you know, there is not that one of Make Disappear. I believe I'm only seeing 1 Make Disappear in Akaike's list. That would really be the clean answer to Haughty Jin. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to play around a 1-of, but we were just talking about you kind of have to respect it. Yeah. Respecting it's one thing besides just completely playing around it. So we'll see what Julian thinks.
Yeah, taking a big thank you.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but it's a nightmare if Haughty Jin gets countered too, because now not only are you losing your best threat, but you don't have counter magic up. So it's a true cost.
Yeah, yeah. So that's why we're seeing Julian in the tank here, just thinking, all right, do I get the spare in case of the 1-off?
Yeah.
That seems to be the case here, as he's going to grab the second copy of the Jin, just reorganize the bottom of the library, and get the turn back. Just in case. Yeah, just in case the game goes that long. But from what we've seen, this tempo deck, once it puts foot, oh boy, that game's going to be over very quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. So now it'll be interesting, you know, with another land drop for sure, you have the option to kind of wait, but you're really advantageous to just play it right now and kind of go full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, and that being said, Akaike didn't have black open to be able to Infernal Grasp as well, which was kind of brutal.
Yeah, just that Tenacious Underdog using that mana last turn. Does have the Infernal Grasp here. So we could see it fired off and has the negate to deal with a... You know, there's only 1 mana open for Julian, so it should resolve, you know, if Yo goes for it.
Yeah, if Yo wants to resolve this, they can.
Yeah.
But that being said, Julian can just play another Jhin next turn with another backup spell.
There is the Fading Hope, too. There's a consideration, perhaps.
Yep. It's hard to not fight over this in some way, because just in case Yo doesn't have it, then it feels pretty bad to let this go. But, you know, at the same time, this is 5 damage that's going to be coming in, so it's going to be a little tricky here for Julian.
He's got an insurance policy. I like the selection of the Haughty Jhin, the second copy. And, you know, this also allows him to do whatever the heck he wants on his turn now. You know, Yo is tapped out, so have fun. Go ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Now this is for sure going to resolve. You're able to play that other island, and then you can Impulse plus Fading Hope. You know, it would be a pretty rough tempo swing if Yo Akaike hits this Jhin as well. You know, another 5 damage would be brutal. But the one thing that we've been seeing round after round is Julian usually has like that extra turn to gain control because of all of his lands are basics that are not dealing him damage, you know?
I wonder how much of an impact these pain lands are going to have for these Esper players, because, you know, you want to be able to access all your mana all the time, and that comes at a cost depending on the format. So you're going to see an Impulse in response to the wedding announcement. There's a negate.
Oh, that's big.
Oh.
I mean, you're definitely going for that outside of those lands. I mean, we were just saying how good those lands look behind us.
Gorgeous.
But, you know, I like the look of a wedding announcement in the graveyard a little bit more on the battlefield.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Get out of here, wedding announcement. No one's getting hitched right now, as this Haughty Jhin is now a 5/4, able to block either of these threats.
And 2 more Denix in hand just looks awful here.
Hello.
There's that definite fun of for one person. Person.
Oh, yeah. There's only one person having fun once this resolves, but not comfortable running it out just yet. Wants to have either a shore up or a negate or something to protect this Lear, Disciple of the Drowned.
Yep, absolutely.
Not the negate. Negate does nothing with Lear out, but, you know, just a way to protect it.
But that is a very good point. Now I wonder if Julian is going to prioritize the shore up. You know, I don't believe we saw one in the graveyard as of yet. Maybe when Julian clicks on the graveyard. I guess can't click on the graveyard. Denix out. So no, but if we get a shore up now, you know, whenever you do draw that next land, you're really well protected with that Lear to just play it. Always leave 1 mana open, and say if Yo Akaike has 2 removal spells, then they'll get Lear dead.
Yeah. And there's a couple of, you know, routes that Julian can take once the Lear hits the battlefield. If Danik is still a problem, you just send him back on his way, right? Yeah. He's like, get out of here. I need my graveyard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, shore up. Love it. Oh, now a 6/4. We racing? Yeah, off to the races. Haughty Jhin gonna get in for 6 points of damage here, potentially. Wellman just making sure there's no shenanigans from the other side of the battlefield that can leave him dead on the backswing.
And then Dennik does have that ability where cards in graveyard can't be the target of spells or ability. Says nothing about casting them from your graveyard. So this doesn't really shut down Lear in any meaningful way.
Oh.
Because you do just get to just cast them straight away instead of target them to cast or some kind of weird wording like that. So I like the shore up. I like the shore up a lot there to not only protect this Jhin, but then if we get the land number 6, then Lear really gets to just take over.
So from Yo's side of things, obviously it's looking pretty good here for Julian Wellman.
Yeah.
He feels like he's in a commanding enough position to just start swinging. What does Yo have to do, or what does he have to get? Excuse me, what do they have to get off the top of the library?
Yeah,
to take control.
It just looks rough here, and now, you know, Julian does have that ability to just shore up and use the kind of mode that you don't see that often, and that is untap. You know, you can just straight block it. Probably not going to see it. But yeah, I would have to say AO, now that this Fading Hope is away, that AO from Yo Akaike would be pretty strong.
Wandering Emperor, perhaps?
Yeah, Wandering Emperor with shore up, though, is still pretty awkward. Like, and that's just the pinch that Julian's been putting these Esper players in all the time. We keep thinking, like, what is the best draw? Well, all the Esper cards kind of do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, they deal with something either for a lot of mana or a little amount of mana, but shore up doesn't care. You know, I guess Shieldred is probably, you know, one of the better draws, but 3 Denix in hand is probably not it.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yo running the full 4 copies of the Pious Apprentice, and we're seeing the downside to that many legends of the same name.
I wonder if we're going to see Akaike cast another one here just to get a flyer in the graveyard to maybe have a flyer as a blocker.
I mean, I don't hate that plan, but not going to be the case right now, as we'll see an 8-4 swing in. Akaike down to 4. Here comes Lear, Disciple the Drowned. And look, a full hand, essentially, for Julian Wellman, as Rafine Scheming Seer will be able to get in the way here, but it's not going to hang around for long.
What do you think we're going to discard to connive here with this Rafine trigger? It's a tough one. The left Denic or the right Denic?
Let's go for, well, now it's middle Denic. Let's take the middle.
A good call.
Yeah.
Rona's Vortex here is pretty nice. One of the few cards that can actually interact with just 2 blue-white duels available. Not the worst draw. You are able to bounce one of these cards, go to 1, chump block the other one. I guess you have to block Lear.
Yeah.
Or you have to bounce Lear.
Yeah, Lear's going to get out of here. Well, I mean, is he?
Yeah, it has to, because otherwise you just Fading Hope Rafine.
Yeah.
But now if Julian draws a land, now that... Oh yeah, because things can't be countered. So you are able to Lear and just Fading Hope Rafine.
Because you don't have to pay for
You
ward.
don't have to pay ward.
That's such a cheeky little interaction, but
that's
that's a Fading Hope. No need to pay for ward. Lear says, yeah, that's cool. And we're going to see a big old Hautijin swing in here for lethal. And Julian Wellman's going to pick up game number 1 against Akaike. So he is looking to extend his lead to 7-1 on day number 1.
Yeah, to be 7-1 would be the co-leader with our other 2 6-1s playing, Nathan Stoyer and John Emmanuel DePraz. And I think the greatest stat about that, regardless of who wins, the 3 6-1 players right now are not playing Esper.
Isn't that great?
That is incredible. And of course, you know, this is not just a standard tournament.
No.
You know, they had some great drafts as well, but you know, John Emmanuel DePraz did not 3-0 the draft, so that is just XOing standard so far. And just really shows that maybe if you put in the work to try to beat Esper, it's beatable.
Oh my goodness. It's going to be so interesting to see what happens tomorrow in the Explorer portion of things, as our players are sideboarding here. Esper Midrange versus Izzet Tempo in the hands of Julian Wellman.
Yeah, and we kind of see Julian Wellman, you know, just get his list in a situation where he's like, yep, this is how I sideboard against Esper. See Akaike, like, well, I don't really know. You know, I mean, this is a little bit harder. This is a deck I don't play against that often. So it does add that struggle in sideboarding as well as in the game.
You know, competitive players, you won't see them at an event mostly without a sideboard plan.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, this in, that out. It's easy for them when they know what to expect. But when it's a tempo deck, you're like, what do I do against this? So
a little bit tougher, and we see Akaike trimming on Shieldred, trimming on AO, not really taking anything out all entirely.
Yeah.
You know, so really kind of just trying to keep the core game plan of the deck, you know, really intact.
Yeah.
And has 4 Destroy Evils post board and Reckoner Bankbuster, a card that we haven't really seen a ton of today, but something that could be very good if you're going for this draw-go style game plan with the Izzet Tempo deck.
Do you think there's a risk for the players playing against these one-of decks of over sideboarding?
Yeah, I think that's always a risk. You know, over sideboarding when you're playing these, especially a deck like Julian Wellman's deck, where you have a game plan every single game. You know, true with Esper Midrange as well, but over sideboarding can definitely get you because, well, you put these 60 cards in the main deck for a reason because they work well together. So your sideboard should always complement what you're doing, never overtake.
Yeah.
Unless you got a good transformational sideboard, which I always love, but it's a lot tougher to do that in an open deckless tournament.
Oh, for sure. Both players like their hands, and we are underway here. Game number 2 between Akaike and Julian Wellman.
Yeah, a lot of Destroy Evils from Akaike, a really reactive hand. And, you know, when you're on the play from these Esper midrange decks up against Izzet Tempo, you really want to have one of those 2 drops. Tenacious Underdog, probably the best just because it hits the hardest. So not having that is pretty brutal.
Yeah, so no 2-drop for Akaike. They do have Rafine Scheming Seer. And we can see that there's no way currently for Julian to deal with that.
Yeah, but it's a tough one to play into this.
Yeah.
Like, I would not be shocked if Akaike does not play Rafine here. You know, we have perfect information that it's a nice play, but yeah, it's tough to do.
Let's see, are they going to go for it? Nope, quite happy just to let it go by, holding up the negate or the destroy evil, depending on what Julian decides here. So now a similar situation for Julian. He does have a couple of 3-drops that he can deploy right now if he wants to.
Yep. Same kind of thing as the flip here, you know, it's just kind of that blink first mentality that we were talking about before, that it's just really tough to go, okay, cast your 3-drop, it gets countered, your opponent untaps, cast their 3-drop. You're really far behind when it comes to that kind of scenario.
Yeah. A couple of destroy evils would deal with the Jin or...
Yeah, not really Cemetery Illuminator, though.
Yeah, Cemetery Illuminator dodges that, so I'm wondering if Julian's just going to be, you know, let's just run that out and see what happens. What have you got? Make you have it. Yes, I love it.
Oh!
Without anything in the graveyard, he's just like, you know what, this is fine. I have a 2/3 flyer. If I attack and you've got stuff in the bin, I'm going to get a discount. Infernal Grasp, a piece of removal, though, that does deal with it.
Yep, that was a nice draw to be able to deal with it, but that's really impressive. You know, we saw both players with the same kind of scenario where they both kind of thought the other person would have the counterspell.
Yeah.
Neither of them did. And it was kind of who would pull the trigger on it first, when most of the time it's exactly the opposite.
But now this cat and mouse game.
Now this does completely indicate that Rafine is free. Probably was free last turn.
Yeah. You can see the acknowledgement there from Julian. Not too happy about seeing the scheming Sia hit the battlefield. Impulse drawn there. Has the Jin as an option, Fable the Mirror Breaker, and the Shore Up to protect whatever he deploys.
Yeah, so this is one of those turns that we would see, you know, one of the really nice plays of Haughty Jin being played with Shore Up and Negate as a backup, even Impulse if you really need to. But Fable the Mirror Breaker is a great play as well. You just don't have Negate available to you.
He's going to go for Fable the Mirror Breaker here.
Which there's one creature that really punishes that line, and that is AO. Shieldred is a great draw as well, so probably either of them would have hit the battlefield if land number 5 was drawn for Akaike.
Yeah, unfortunately not finding that just yet, but Yo does have a couple options here. Infernal Grasp as well. As a negate backup, we could just see Shieldred run out.
Yeah, I think that's what I would lean on doing, because you know it's not getting countered. It might get Fading Hoped, and that would still be kind of bad, but we could also see Rafine being, you know, Rafine attacking here, and then you have the option of playing AO as well if you find the land. And normally this is almost a super easy discard Denic, I'm going to bring it back type of thing. But with Cemetery Illuminator, like, it's not safe there.
No.
Which is really impressive. And Denic is also a good card against Cemetery Illuminator, because we've seen that card just really get a ton of value when you're able to attack and hit an instant.
Yeah.
And you can play an Impulse or a Consider that we see on top of the library on your turn, and then maybe line something up on your opponent's turn as well. That card has impressed me.
Yeah, Denic certainly putting in the work this weekend. Let's see if he'll hit the battlefield here for Akaike. Allowing Yo to keep up either the Infernal Grasp or the Negate. So here comes Denic.
Well, with how Julian's hand is set up, Julian's got to be very excited about that. Shieldred would be, and Shieldred is extra great against Fable the Mirror Breaker, not being able to discard these 2 cards. So big help for Julian there, that Shieldred's not on the battlefield.
Oh, definitely. Because yeah, that would hurt.
Ouch!
We
That'd be
like
life.
we like drawing cards, but you know, don't have to pay life for them essentially. Line number 5 found here for Julian Wellman. There's a Fading Hope.
Yeah, and a nice play here that we've seen kind of time and time again is attacking with the Shaman into a 2/3 and then having Shore Up. That is the one advantage that we're seeing over Slip Through the Back that John Emmanuel Duprat is playing. They both have some give and take You know, and I really don't know which one's better, even though we've been seeing both of them kind of dominate, and they're in similar roles.
Yeah, combat tricks, baby.
Yeah.
Love to see it. Another decision here, though, for Julian.
Yeah, I would assume...
To swing or not to swing? That is the question.
Yeah, I think it's whether to swing with the Cemetery Illuminator as well. I think Shaman's getting in there no matter what. It feels very free. But you're unable to target anything. Never mind. Okay. I thought you couldn't target that with Dennick, but I am incorrect. Yeah, it says exile a card. It doesn't target. So, yeah, it gets around that too.
Words are hard.
Words are tricky.
Yeah. Nevertheless, we will see an instant exile with Symmetry Illuminator, allowing Julian to cast them off the top of the library now, which is very neat indeed. Impulse. Taking a squiz here, seeing what would you pick? I mean, they're all great options.
They're all pretty strong. I think I would be taking Make Disappear because Julian's hand had a huge hole with giant creatures being cast.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I love about that Impulse before blockers, it kind of hints to me that Julian's looking for a way to get past Dennick. You know, it's a little bit of Hollywooding right now because Julian has the shore up. So I think that is, I truly think that was a little bit of Hollywooding.
You're going to see the shore up. There is a negate in hand for Yo Akaike. But the problem is they can only cast one spell.
Yep, they can only cast one, and Julian has 3 answers.
Yeah. It's like, how many answers would you like? Oh, yes, is the answer. You got to fight over it, right?
Definitely. Yep, you do. Got to fight over it for both players. You know, the combat trick itself, losing Dennick for free there feels pretty bad, and same for Julian. Being able to get Dennick into the battlefield, or into the graveyard, is really strong here as well.
So both players just flinging counter spells at each other. I negate your negate, and I will kill your creature, thank you.
Yeah, now after this, we're going to see Julian Wellman have 2 mana available, Make Disappear with an extra creature, as well as Fading Hope, and then just a plethora of different creatures. And to kind of threaten later, you could go double Huadijin next turn. You could cast Leer with some backup from the graveyard, and it's really all facilitated by Fable of the Mirrorbreaker.
Oh, yeah. And this little goblin doing its work as well, getting that extra mana in the form of the treasure there. So, you know, Julian has everything going for him right now, and I really like his position in this matchup, you know, trying to get back to that 2-0 trend he started earlier today.
Yeah, so we do see the negate. We don't have the Jin out there now. So, okay, so it is just Fading Hope available, so that's a little bit worse, but...
Hey, still not terrible. Another AO. Not what Yo wants to see. Land number 5 would have been ideal for them. Maybe we find it with Rafine. Let's take a squiz. Hey, hello, Cave of Koilos.
There is land number 5, but even that Fading Hope, you're probably not going to cast it at end step if you're Julian, just because, well, if you're using a treasure, there's no point in ever kind of doing it at end step because, well, you can always just do that during your turn, but an easy thing to just play during your opponent's turn and then play a Huadijin and then just have Make Disappear available for it as well.
Yeah, so back to Julian's turn. Huadijin is the draw. Fable the Mirrorbreaker flips. Here comes the reflection.
So not only can you bounce AO, play Huadijin, make disappear it when it comes back, but you can make disappear it from the top of your library. You don't have to waste that one in your hand. No big deal. No big deal. I'm in love with this deck.
That's icky. Oh, get Dennick out of the... Yeah, get out of there, bud. Nice. Oh, that's so good. You know, you don't expect a blue deck to deal with a graveyard, huh?
You really don't.
No.
No. If it's not some kind of artifact graveyard hate, you know, you really don't see it. But yeah, now you see Shieldred played. Even with 2 mana available, you can get rid of that Goblin Shaman to make disappear off the top. And whenever you're looking to cast a card off the top of your library, something that you were going to draw next turn anyways, Julian's going to make disappear anything.
Yeah.
If Yo Akaike puts anything onto the stack, that make disappear from the top of library is almost assuredly going to be
it's going to get cost.
Yeah.
First things first, though, let's get Plaza of Heroes down the battlefield here for Akaike.
Maybe some consideration if this is a grasp, just because you'd have to sack 2 creatures, that maybe you let this go. But you can also just let the Jin go, since you have a backup one in hand, and then still make disappear if you wanted to.
No, just counter everything.
Yeah, why not?
No fun for anyone, says Julian Wellman, revealing a island off the top of the library. Now, is Akaike going to fire off this Destroy Evil to deal with this Jin?
I wouldn't think so. I think you either, since Akaike couldn't play another spell with Destroy Evil, I think you just pay 4 if you want it dead, or you try to play Shieldred.
And what's the best option here right now? It's like, okay, either I advance my board or I deal with yours.
Yeah, I think if you don't counter it, you would play Shieldred here. But, you know, Akaike is reaching for Destroy Evil, so...
Maybe just bluffing that they have a counterspell in hand.
Yeah, that's strange to me. I guess this does work out better for Akaike because, well, you're able to pay for that Make Disappear. Julian doesn't really want to sack any of those creatures right now. So, yeah, I think this is the one play that will get that Jin off the battlefield. Unless you want to get rid of Reflection of Kiki-Jiki.
Oh, all right, he's going for it. Oh, is he? Man, that's a tough one.
That is tough.
Make Disappear would result in, most likely, the Reflection of Kiki-Jiki going bye-bye.
Yeah.
But I like keeping...
Ooh.
Oh, okay, the Illuminator. He's done his job.
Yeah, you know, I like that for a reason as well, because, well, it's lethal next turn if Rafine gets in there. So now Rafine just has to chump block. All right. You know what? I'll just let Julian make the lines here because that
oh my
was
goodness. Yeah, two
quite
8/4 flyers seems like a good plan here for Julian Wellman. Land off the top of the library, revealed that previously. And Akaike. Oh man, we're just gonna bounce it, right? Yeah, bounce it out the way, make a copy of the Jin.
Yeah, I think you make a copy first because you can protect it with Shore Up, but once this comes down, then you can attack.
Bounce?
And you can bounce.
Go for it. Just, you know, what are we doing if not going for it, Julian?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't go for it here, I like this safe play. You just got to think, you know, there's no real sweepers that Akaike can play. So if you're just going to chump block this, I'm going to keep one of these either Shore Up or Fading Hope available and just win with these creatures next turn.
Oh, he doesn't have a bounce in the graveyard. Oh, there's a
Fading Hope or Shore Up.
All right, so yeah, going for the safe play like you mentioned, just the 1 mana available. He doesn't want to get caught, you know, thinking, what is the way that I lose this?
Exactly. And yeah, I don't see a way out of it here from Akaike. Looks like Julian Wellman's going to continue this streak against beating Esper.
Oh yeah, he's making a point this weekend of going, Esper? Easy peasy. Here comes Shieldred the Apocalypse. It's going to deal 2 points of damage to Julian, but that's no biggie at all, with just absolute gas at his disposal.
Man, seeing those graveyards from Lear is just always a very defeating thing if you're playing against it.
Oh man, yeah, because basically just like, oh, second hand unlocked. Look at all these. I still had all this.
Exactly. Yeah, that card is incredible. And one of the most powerful cards in Standard, just something that we haven't really seen a lot in a lot of different decks, you know, so far.
Oh, but man, a 2-0 again against Esper for Julian Wellman, so he is going to be incredibly pleased with his day thus far. You know, only losing to another tempo deck, you can't feel bad about that.
Yep, and gonna be the co-leader with either the other tempo deck or Grix's mid-range from Nathan Stoyer, whom he beat already.
Yeah.
Impressive stuff. Really impressive stuff. And just not even phased. Just like, the job's
chill.
not done.
He's chill.
Yeah.
Like a consummate professional. Just like, yeah, okay. Gotta wait one more.
Yeah.
You know, just another one. Just keep winning.